welcome back. I'm still awaiting your feedback on all our social media platforms. Again, they are at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, at KUTV Kenya on Instagram, and at KUTV Kenya on Facebook. Let me know if you're voting. If you're not, please tell me why. The only reason that is valid right now is that you didn't manage to register by the time they were closing registration. That's the only valid reason that we have right now. But if you are a registered voter, tell us where you're voting from. Tell us how you're able to filter the kind of information you get, how you're able to, distinguish between fake news and real news in regards to the voting that is upcoming. As we get into that, as I wait for your feedback, I have the amazing Dorris Mwangi here with us. Dorris Mwangi has an NGO. That was for the motion Education for All, right?
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Yeah, thank you, Nina.
How are you feeling?
I'm excited.
Excited?
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Who is Dorris?
So, I'm Dorris Mwangi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 24 years old. I'm a medical student at the University of Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting my 5th year, October this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a quality education advocate, and I'm also a resolution fellow.
A resolution?
Fellow.
What is a resolution fellow?
So,
who is
a resolution fellow?
Mm-hmm.
So there's this organization called the Resolution Project.
Mm-hmm.
It's a non-profit organization based in the US. So they usually fund young people in university who have projects that positively impact the community. So either for profit or non-profit. So they usually have competitions where you pitch your ideas, and when you get to win the fellowship, you're awarded the fellowship, and now you're called a resolution fellow. And now the fellowship comes with seed funding to kickstart your project, mentorship, and also the networks to help you implement your project.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what a resolution fellow means.
Oh, nice. So which project did you win with the resolution fellow?
So our project is called Kibera Kanan,
Mm-hmm.
Library and Youth Empowerment Center, though we changed the name to Mshauri Ushirika Resource Center.
Mm-hmm.
So basically this is a partnership between our organization, Mshauri Youth Empowerment Program, and a school in Kibera called Ushirika Children's Center.
Mm-hmm.
So we are trying to create an educational resource center for children. So this is a safe space for children to access educational opportunities and resources. So this comprises of a public access library for children,
Mm-hmm.
where they're able to access curriculum and non-curriculum books to encourage them to have a reading culture and also to pursue their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Then we are working on the Ict Center. So basically it's to encourage digital literacy. So we want to implement a program where children are taught
Mm-hmm.
basic computer literacy and also coding for children using
Mm-hmm.
games to pick their interest,
Mm-hmm.
to cultivate problem-solving skills. And the third component is the mentorship program now for children.
Before you tell us all of this, you will tell us again.
It's okay.
Tell us how this journey started, where this dream came from.
So I'd say my journey hasn't been a one-time thing. It has been something sort of a growth.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in Isiolo.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised by my aunt. And I'd say my family, my aunt and my mom, tried as much as they could to give me the best education that they could give me.
Mm-hmm.
But in as much as I went to school, we had cases of sometimes girls used to drop out of school because we could have cases of teenage pregnancies, and then we could also have cases where girls didn't join Form 1 simply because they were married off. So I have a friend who actually was married off after class 8. So when I went back to Isiolo in Form 2, I found that she was married off as the third wife, and she had 2 kids at that time. So it got me thinking why this girl wasn't able to have these particular opportunities. And for her, it was something that was normal. She was excited about it because it was part of the culture. You see, so at that time, I'd say my journey began at that point, but I did not know because I felt like I didn't have the resources or the voice to do anything about it. So after I joined high school, I topped in water in my KCSE, and I joined Equity. And at that point, I started volunteering as a mentor for the Wings to Fly scholars. And we used to do mentorship programs all over the country. I was based mostly in Nairobi, but we had other programs elsewhere. So I realized that I could use a mentorship as a platform to empower children. So we gathered together with my friends in university and came up with the idea to use mentorship as a tool for empowerment, to reach out to kids who are in the under-resourced areas, those mashinani areas where probably hakuna these opportunities, and also to reach out to other kids who are not wings to fly scholars. So we started with a school in Githongori, and we went and we did the mentorship program there. And at that point, we realized that this school didn't have books. Like the kids didn't have books. So we were telling children, how to read, how to, pass in exams. But they were asking us,
what are we reading?
So what are we reading? Because they didn't have adequate books. So at that point, we went back, we sat, and then we asked ourselves, so what can we do for these kids? Because we were almost like recently graduated from high school. We still had our textbooks, and also we had friends and networks who had their books. So we did a sort of a mini book drive. So we mobilized our friends to get books, and then we went and donated books to that particular school. So about 2 months later, the principal told us, the kids are excited, they are reading, they're coming back to school to read. Could you come back for a follow-up mentorship session? So we went back to the school, and then at that point, it hit us that, this can be a plan, this can be something that we can be doing. So we actually now went to another institution and replicated the same. So that's how we started. So basically out of, using what we have at that point and then realizing that there is more need, and looking within ourselves and looking at the resources that we have and how we can use those resources to fill those gaps. Yes.
Wow. So what motivates you every morning to do this?
I'd say if I look at my life, the opportunities that I have had are through education. Me pursuing medicine, and me getting to a point where I can actually empower children. And imagine this is just one person who has had this particular impact through the people investing in my education.
Yeah.
So I usually tell myself that no one chooses to be born where they are born, and no one chooses to go to a school that is under-resourced, you know. So I could be any of those kids. It could be me. But fortunately, I am in this position. So what would happen if we decide to, to empower other kids, 600 kids or 700 other kids? Imagine the kind of impact that would have.
Yeah.
So just imagining that, what if that person was me? And trying to imagine that, what if this child was given the opportunities that I have had? The kind of impact that could give.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges you faced as you are, getting into the journey?
So I'd say the first challenge would be, the main challenge for young people like us is always resources.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you want to do so much, and sometimes it becomes frustrating because where do you get the money?
You feel like you could do better, but then there's no enough resources.
Yeah. So you just have to be restricted to the small things that you can
access.
do, you can access, right?
Yeah.
Then the second challenge would be the fact that, we are young. So even when you go to offices, I started this after high school, I was 17 years, right? And I'm 24, so it's been quite a journey. So when you go to offices and you talk to people and you try to explain to them your idea, at first they dismiss you because they see that you're young.
You're too young.
Yeah, but when they get to listen to you and they get to understand your ideas, they tell you, hey, for your age, you're thinking ahead of your time, and I think you have something, and I think we can work on that. Then the third thing would be probably sometimes because we usually work with volunteers, sometimes volunteers, people are usually excited about giving back. And most of the time, people are excited about just coming to the school to take pictures for social media. But when people realize that it's something that takes commitment, you have to invest yourself in something. Sometimes people
and
just
also invest your own resources.
Invest your own resources. So sometimes people just
they pull out.
You see. So you have like a team, and then at some point it just falls off. Yes.
So every single time you have a new team, you're working with a new team.
I'd say not a new team, because I have consistent members. We have like a team that has been supportive throughout, and it would be wrong for me to say everyone is pulling out, because I'm sure they're also watching here. But I have an amazing support system. I have people behind my back who usually work behind the scenes. And for us to say that you're doing this particular program, they're actually the people who do the most of the work. Yes, and then the other thing is, in as much as we have a few volunteers who probably pull out, we also have people who are more excited about joining us, and we also have networks of people who refer us to opportunities. Yes.
I'm sure there's people who are curious on how exactly it is you're able to collect these books. How do your book drives run?
So I'll talk about resource mobilization.
Yeah.
So in terms of now the challenge of resources, this is how we tackled it. So first of all, we usually do online book drives. So we mobilize on WhatsApp, on Facebook. We tell people, we have this particular book drive. These are the kinds of books that we're looking for. If you have new or gently used books.
Or you have specific books you look for?
Yes. So we look for curriculum books. We look for story books. We look for dictionaries, atlases, those reference books. And basically, just books that can pique the interest of the children and help them, grow in their vocabulary, their grammar, and also keep the reading culture. The cognitive development. But the priority is always the curriculum books first. Because if you put up a library for a school and it doesn't have curriculum books, kids won't come there to read. Yes. So we usually run the book drives online. And then we tell people to contact us. So once someone has books and then they contact us, now we arrange on how you are going to pick the books. The second part is now we reach out to organizations that donate books to public libraries. Because again, for us to do our work, we have to work through partnerships. Another way of mobilizing resources is through partnerships. So you look for partners who actually do the kind of work that you are doing. So there's an organization called Books for Africa. We have Saimeka Foundation, we have Maktabas Inc. So we usually reach out to these organizations and we tell them, we are looking for these kinds of books. Now the problem with this, the main challenge with these books is the fact that these organizations usually donate books donated from US. So it's usually...
They're not curriculum based.
Yes. So for these ones, we usually go and select mostly storybooks because the kids that we have will have more preference towards the storybooks.
Yes.
Because the storybooks are usually very illustrative and they're very interesting to read and they're very diverse. Usually have stories of Batman, Superman, Cinderella. So it's usually interesting for kids to read those kinds of books. So that's the second bit. So when we organize with those particular organizations and they usually ask, they ask for accountability. Where are you taking the books? How about what if they get lost? So once they've vetted you, they tell you where their warehouse is and then you go and pick them. So for Books for Africa, we've gone for books at Mutituande, Maktabas Inc. Their warehouse is at Ruiru. Yeah, so that's the second bit.
So in regards to how you have to give information on accountability, how are you accountable for the books? Like, do you normally go back to check on how they're doing, whether the books are still there or they're still helpful? So for the books, so once we collect the books, when we started initially, we were just giving out books as donations. We hadn't thought about the sustainability part because again, I said we were young, but we are growing and this is a journey and it's a learning process and I'm proud of that. So at the moment when you donate books to an institution, we usually stamp them, we usually inventory them. So say after a year or so, we'll come and check whether the books are there. And if the books are lost, we want to understand with the school. Where? Yes. And if you're setting up a library with a school, then the school has a role because we usually have a contract we sign with the school and it outlines our responsibilities and the responsibilities of the school. Yes. So one of the key responsibilities of the school is to provide security and also a librarian to monitor the library so that in as much as kids are accessing the library, they're not able to go with the books at home because that is a catalyst for books getting lost. Yes. They're not stealing, they just take the books at home and then they forget it's there, you see. So the librarian part, the inventorying part, the stamping part and also the checking part helps us ensure that the books are not getting lost. Yes. Oh, nice. And what are some of the success stories you have? So I'd say, so last year, in 2020 or 2021, during the COVID period, so we had a number of people losing their jobs because of the pandemic. And some of the parents to our children,
the kids that we mentor lost their streams of income.
Yeah.
So we had a case of one girl who was in Nakuru, where we had mentored a parish in Nakuru, and they reached out and they said, well, we'd like to pay fees for our child, but amefukuzwa shule and we're not able to do that. Is there a way that you can help us, get funds for this? So we said we can't mobilize school fees for just one girl. Let's look for
multiple children.
Yeah, multiple children. So we reached out to institutions that we've worked with. So we've worked with Nakuru, Kariene in Meru, and also Ushirika in Kibera. So we got a number of kids from those particular institutions, and then we did a fund drive online. That was like the biggest fund drive we had done. And it was surprising the amount of support that we got, because we also got people from US donating from us. Someone just reaching out and saying, I don't know you personally, but I've seen your work and I can see that it's helping children. I'd like to give this to help this child go to school. So I'd say that is a success story for us.
Yeah.
Because 2 kids from Kariene, once we paid their fees, the ones who were in Form 3, we were able to clear their fees for Form 3 and also Form 4, that contribution. Then the second bit would be, when you have reports of when the school calls you and they tell you, the books that you brought, the kids are reading them, or once you've mentored kids and then they graduate from high school and join university or TVET, and then they reach out to you, because kids usually reach out to me on social media and they tell me, you mentored me, I know you don't remember me, but I've joined my dream course and I am happy and I wanted to say thank you for that. So that's actually happy. It makes us happy as an organization.
Gives motivation to keep going.
Yes, it encourages us. Yes.
What are some of the future plans you have for your organization?
I'd say one, since we operate virtually, so if we need to have physical meetings, we usually do that in the schools that we work with. So I'd say the first one would be to have a physical location, probably offices. The second bit would be to make our organization sustainable, because one of the biggest challenges, again, with young organizations is sustainability, because you're relying either on donations, on grants. So just making our organization fully sustainable so that it's able to regenerate and sustain itself. Then I'd say the third bit would be to now include youth in our programs, because again, once we mentor children in primary school and high school, they are graduating to become youth, right? So we want to have an entrepreneurship kind of program where we teach youth skills and also teach them how to commercialize those skills. So you identify needs in your communities, and then you find out, you try to identify what kinds of skills can we use to solve these particular problems. And also, how can we commercialize them, to help them earn a decent living, from things that they love doing. And we also teach them things like financial literacy, managing that particular kind of business. So I'd say in 5 years, that's where we are headed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you intend to do any other things other than just giving out books? To expand in helping in any other ways?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, for the program at Ushirika, it has 3 components. So I mentioned the library, and we've exhausted that. But the second bit is the digital literacy program. So we are setting up a computer lab for the school, and the plan is to have 2 programs. So we teach basic computer literacy, so that we have any child passing through that particular school or that community, that Laini Saba community, is able to at least use a computer, use PowerPoint, Word, Excel, the basics of computer literacy. And then the second bit is now coding, to encourage children to use technology as part of problem solving. So that's the second bit. Then the third program that we are having and will continue is the mentorship program. So our mentorship program is usually mostly run by university volunteers. So they usually cover aspects, psychosocial aspects that affect children. Because you might pay for fees, you might provide books, but again, a child is not performing as they should, probably because they're being violated somewhere. Maybe they are not mentally healthy. So we want to usually tackle aspects such as academic excellence, to show kids how to read the proper strategies. We're including a reproductive health, so things like gender-based violence, things like menstrual hygiene management. Yeah, we're also talking about mental health, because it's important to acknowledge that a child hana hiyo the just academic aspect. You look at a child as a whole. So you look at ways we can help children know how to identify their stressors, how to cope with stress, how to support one another, and other aspects of life skills. So things that they can use outside there. So can they use financial literacy, so that when they graduate, when they come out of high school and they start getting money, they know how to use that money.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm curious, have you ever tried to approach brands like Longhorn, Kina Savanis, these brands that write books and even sell books, and how was the approach for you?
So,
or rather their response as well?
So right now we're working on, we had called a Longhorn some time back, Longhorn Publishers, and they said they usually, for us to get donations, they gave us the guidelines. So to do a proposal, write the problem, the need, and also the kinds of books that we need, and then we submit it. So we are working on the proposal. We need to submit it. We also approached, I'd say, one of the what do you call this, book companies. What are these?
Like a bookstore.
Yeah, bookstores that we usually purchase books from, and they gave us a considerable amount of discount for the books that we are purchasing, for the books that we are getting. Yes, so I'd say that. But in terms of approaching publishers, we are now working on that, writing proposals and also submitting them for them to actually donate books to us as part of corporate social responsibilities. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
If you were to give a call to action, what would you tell the people out there?
I'd specifically address young people, and I'd say that it's important to create a platform for yourself, because like for us, or rather for myself, for the opportunities that I've gotten them because I use social media as a tool for change, for marketing myself, Then the second thing I'd say is invest in yourself and also apply for opportunities. Again, for the Resolution project that is funding our project, and also MasterCard, it was us that we believed in ourselves. We actually worked on, we went and the extra mile and learned how to do proposals, how to pitch.
Speaking of MasterCard, what are some of the big brands you've worked with in this whole drive?
So I'd say we've worked with MasterCard, MasterCard Foundation, and we've also worked with the Resolution project. Yes. So those two companies.
Oh.
Yes.
I've cut you short as you were saying.
Yeah. So I'd say, yes, applying for opportunities, because opportunities are there, and it's just about you finding the right opportunity for yourself and looking for the requirements for that particular opportunity, and giving yourself a chance, and then having networks, useful networks. Again, even me being this interview, it's someone who recommended me for this particular interview. Even for those opportunities as Akina MasterCard, it's friends who have actually recommended us and told us, there's this particular interview. So your networks, it sounds like a cliche, but actually your network is actually
your network.
Your net worth, yeah. And also don't give up, because sometimes you usually apply for things, you try things and they don't work out, but consistency is key. Because for us to get to where we are, we have been doing this for the past since 2017 basically. So that's a long time, and it gives us a basis. And if you try something and it doesn't work out for you, if it's something it's not working out for you, it's not wrong to quit and start something else. It's also okay.
Keep doing something until whatever
you find what works out for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. A call to action, people can bring books or something.
So we are collaborating with a Rotaract Club of UN Afia, that is the Rotaract Club in medical school. And we are working together on a joint book drive. So this October we're still working on the logistics, but we're going to have a hike for books. So we hike, we're going to find a destination. So once we do it will be an educative hike, but at the same time, all the proceeds that we'll get from that particular hike will be for the establishing the library at Ushirika. So I'd say probably people to follow us on social media. Facebook, we are MYEP, Mshauri Youth Empowerment Program. IG, we are Mshauri YEP. and Twitter we are Mshauri_YEP. So once we have the hike, you can actually support us by participating in the hike, because it will be adventurous, it will be fun, but at the same time it will also be for a good cause. Yes, and also if you're interested in community service and helping children and working with children, and that is your field, you can also reach out to us on our social media platforms, and you can also work out a plan on how you can actually be impactful. I'd say that.
Can they still donate books, or that was just for the first part?
You can also donate books. Again, if you reach out to us, we can organize on how we can get books. So the kinds of books that we're looking for, again, are curriculum books. So old curriculum books and new curriculum books for the CBC. We're looking for storybooks. So storybooks, especially for African authors, because we have most of the storybooks from US, and we want our kids to get exposure about where we are from.
Culture.
Yes, African culture, and things that are familiar to them, and also reference books. So atlases, kamusi, dictionaries,
Log
Bibles,
books.
yes, logbooks, all those. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dorris. This has been very, very insightful. If we want to get you personally, where can we get you?
So I am on LinkedIn as Dorris Mwangi, Dorris with double R. I'm also on Facebook as Dorris Mwangi, on Instagram as Dorris Mwangi. On all platforms, I'm just Dorris Mwangi. So you can reach out to me personally on that. I usually talk to young people, and if you need help in terms of writing proposals or reaching or pitching, or identifying grants that can work for you, if you have an idea, that's also something that I'm passionate about. You can also reach out to me. Yes.
Wow, that's one I'm definitely interested in. I will look for you. I personally will look for you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nina.
We really, really appreciate it. So if you need to reach out to Dorris Mwangi on all her social media platforms, thank you once again for your time. If you have books to give, if you feel like you want to participate in community service, reach out to Dorris. She has shared with us her journey and her story. I will be coming back after this short break. I'm still waiting for your feedback on our social media platforms. That's KUTV Kenya on Facebook, KUTV_.